family law, landlord-tenant, and consumer protection, debtor-creditor kind of law. Sadly, some marriages do not withstand the separations that are inherent in military service. We did have some legislation enacted a couple of years ago that amended sections 3109.04 and 3109.051 of the revised code to provide that service members could not permanently lose custody while deployed, and it contained some other protections, including visitation for a family member with significant contact with the child and so forth. So that's one issue. Another issue is debtor-creditor matters, where there is some dispute over whether the service member is entitled to interest rate relief, and that should be resolved in court, but sometimes the creditor declines to do that, and that leaves the service member in a difficult position of having to satisfy an obligation that in law they shouldn't have to satisfy in full anymore. And finally, landlord-tenant is a significant part of this practice. There are a substantial number of landlords who are not clear on what their obligations are to their tenants, and the law has become more clear in regard to, we have a lot of college students in the Guard and Reserve. One of the reasons they enlist is to get additional tuition money for school. And so frequently, as you know, college students will room with other college students. Well, many times there are multiple people left behind when the service member goes on active duty and says, I'm terminating the lease. Well, there was in the minds of some, there was a lack of clarity until recently when Congress amended the law to make it very clear that there is no liability among the other tenants for the share of the rent that was being paid by the tenant who's gone on active duty. We would ask that everybody acquaint themselves with the provisions of the SCRA, and that they put themselves in the position of someone who has gone far from home at the beck and call of their country, and is now engaged in very serious business that involves a threat to their life on a daily basis, and ask themselves whether, if they were in that position, they would want to be distracted by a lawsuit back home. I think the answer would be no.